I saw that picture of my good buddy Ben sitting next to Phil Ivey playing poker yesterday. And that brought me back, man. Remember what ESPN used to be? Where you would get home and the 6 p.m. Sports Center would be the 7 p.m. Sports Center and the 8 p.m. Sports Center if there wasn't a game anyway. And then it would get to a point in the night where they would switch it over to a random sport. Or like this time of year, ESPN2 would be nothing but like strongman competitions and speedboat races and World Series of Poker. I miss those days so much. I loved watching poker. That was my favorite one of all of the off sports that they would air in the down times. I loved watching the World Series of Poker.
Yeah, me too. And I like to play poker. I'm not at the level that Mintz is at, obviously, but I like to play. So I always enjoyed watching that. Even before it was super popular. The Chris Moneymaker one is one that set everybody up. Great name, by the way. Come on, Chris Moneymaker wins the World Series of Poker. I mean, it almost feels rigged at that point. But yeah, all those old, I think about ESPN8, the Ocho, right, and the weird sports, but strongman. Do you remember like lumberjack competitions, things like that? A lot of these sports probably would have been would have been going on at those Birmingham World Games that are about to kick off. Learned about some of those things yesterday, like fistball and court ball and canoe polo, things like that. Fistball is volleyball, but you have to use your fist.
Is that a real thing, or are you making that up?
Yes, I'm not making that up. But you can't hit it with your hands and set it up. You gotta punch it up.
Have you seen the British version of basketball where there's no backboard and you can't dribble or run? You have to pass. Like that's the only way that the ball can advance is pass. And
that might be what I was talking about with court ball is what it's called. I think.
Yeah, there's no backboard.
Korf ball. Yeah, it's just like they got a basket on a pole.
Yeah.
And
it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
only the British could come up with that.
It is just absolutely terrible. I used to get in so much trouble, man. It would be bedtime and I'd sneak off into my room. Or excuse me, I'd sneak out of my room after I thought my parents would go to bed. And I would get into our bonus room and turn on the TV to watch ESPN, whether it was the 5th iteration of SportsCenter, the same one that I saw before I went to bed. Literally, they just replayed the same SportsCenter, or I was watching World's Strongest Man, where they would do the Atlas stones. I mean, or pulling the semi-trucks. Or they would have to, throw the hammer over the pole above their head, all that stuff.
Or stack the balls, the concrete balls that weighed a half ton.
The mud
Magnus
ball
for
races?
Magnuson.
Yes.
How can anybody forget that guy? I remember the lumberjack stuff. Where they out there log rolling in the water or chainsaws and all that. Who does this stuff?
Remember,
Australian rules football early in the morning.
The log rolling thing always cracked me up because all the other stuff I understood, like lumberjacks, there were people at the park the other day when I had my son out there cutting trees down. So I understood hey, you guys are competing who can slice this log or cut this down fast enough. It was the log running, which was the most entertaining, was the part I understood the least. It's how is this part of your job? It's fun, but when they would say, oh, this is going to show who's the complete lumberjack. I thought, what lumberjack is out here running on floating logs in the water?
All sorts of them.
Apparently.
It's a big part of the thing. Big part of the thing.
God, the lawnmower races.
You had some, I remember, ESPN tried to have, original programming. Playmakers was really good. The NFL only allowed one season of that, though, before they were this hits a little too close to home. Can't have this out there. They had a poker series called Tilt that I really liked. I'm trying to remember some of the other stuff that they did. But they came up with, they had their own entertainment and stuff at one point. Yeah, they are entertainment and sports programming. So they say.
Aaron in Gulfport says, I used to eat breakfast and watch morning ESPN every morning before school. Now I just passed it up. Yeah, it's And the internet, it's not just poor decision-making from ESPN that has led to that not being the case. Highlights are kind of a thing of the past now because the internet has created a lack of desire for them, right? I mean, I'm a huge Pelicans fan. If I miss one of their games, which is rare, their team posts all of the highlights, an extended version of the highlights, on social media. And I have their app on my phone. They give me a push notification. Hey, here's the highlight package. So I don't even have to turn on a TV to see the highlights. So that's why they started making changes initially. But where I think that they get this so wrong is I don't watch every game of other teams. I would love to just be like what happened in Major League Baseball yesterday and just turn it on and they just run through all the games that happened. And the internet hasn't ruined that aspect of it because I can't get that anywhere. I can't get it anywhere. And they failed there anyway. I used to.
Yeah. I used to watch. SportsCenter used to air like 10 p.m. to noon. And they would just replay the same one over and over again. And I'm telling you, I would watch it like 7 times.
Yeah. In case you missed something.
That was, in case you missed something. And now I couldn't tell you the last time I sat down to watch SportsCenter. Yeah. Could not tell you.
And what really was great about it then and what stinks about it now is, again, I'm a huge Pelicans fan. I know a lot of you guys listening don't care for the NBA, but I think you'll agree with this sentiment anyway because they do it with baseball as well. The only sport they don't do this with is football. They spend and are about to spend over $1 billion for college football, and they won't cover it until it's playoff time. Every team that played sports in America felt equally important to the next one. The Oakland A's mattered the same way the Yankees mattered. And now, if you're not in New York or L.A. or Boston, then they would rather your players be somewhere else. They not only don't cover your teams, they tell you that your teams are not good and that they shouldn't almost exist. It's really unfortunate because back in the day, every team mattered. Every college football team mattered. ESPN every Saturday night had Southern Miss highlights. Every Saturday night, you could see what happened in the Southern Miss game on the worldwide leader in sports. That mattered.
Just a different day for ESPN. Yeah. They feel what gets me is I guess the ratings must be good because they continue with that format, but I don't watch ESPN outside of live games ever now. Ever. I used to watch it. It used to be locked on there 24 hours a day, basically. Not now.
And if they had the lumberjack challenge tonight at 11:30 when I could not sleep, I'd put it on. I'd watch these guys do the speed saw where they cut 3 pieces in 5 seconds.
I'm a lumberjacker, baby!
Yeah. A lot of you guys have texted about this. We'll get to some of those when we come. Nostalgia, off-brand sports that ESPN used to cover. Jeff in the Delta says, I like watching the cornhole tournament and the can jam tournament they have now. I saw a video on YouTube of the unbelievable precision and skill from those cornhole professionals. Like random guy that grills in his backyard holding a beer thinks that, I can do that too. Maybe you could eventually. But those guys are shocking with, somebody put, was it a silver dollar? Anyway, a small coin on the board and would move the coin around the board and say, hit the coin. And he would, every time. Nothing. Every single time he could hit a spot that you picked out that big on the board every time. It was crazy how good they were.
Practice makes perfect. That's what these guys, when you do something for a living and you practice it every day, you can get good at it. Simple as that. Those guys,
they even have throws where they purposefully have the bag halfway in the hole, halfway out.
Right. Trying to set up like a block or something. Yeah. It sounds weird to say, but those guys do that for a living. What do you do for a living? Are you good at it? Well, if you did this other thing, you might be good at that. If you played cornhole 10 hours a day to get better at it, you would get better at it eventually.
Rhino checks me on something I said earlier. He said lumber used to be transported downriver, and the guys would just take the logs down the river. They'd ride them or stand on them and ride down the river. So that's how it was born. Silly me there. Learn something new every day. That's why they did it in the
dummy.
I know, right?
Yeah.
They still do some of that. I saw a setup. I took the little guy 2 years ago to the fair to pet some of the goats and stuff and feed them carrots and whatever. And they had a setup, which I think they were going to do some of the lumberjack challenge and stuff at the fair here in the capital city. So those guys are still around, just not on ESPN anymore, sadly. Got a couple of texts about that as well. Yeah, I missed that. It shows how much I know. Jake says, woke up all night with Rhonda on USA. All teenage boys snuck out of bed to watch that. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
I was a sports guy, but
wrong. Yeah.
I remember that. Somebody says, love me some basketball. Favorite sport, no question. There's some of you out there. This is a football and a baseball state, no doubt. But there is I said this when it came out a few months ago, but in case you missed it, in terms of highest rated markets that watch nationally televised basketball games, most specifically the NBA, Memphis, New Orleans, and Birmingham were all in the top 10. You draw a line between all three, guess what's in the middle? Mississippi. So those people exist here. Yeah, the landmass.
I mean, it's just people in the South like sports, and
yeah, they do.
If nothing else, you can just put the game on, and you don't have to be watching it. You don't have to be listening to it. You certainly don't have to be caring what the people's political leanings are on the court. You just got the game on, and that's enough sometimes.
Yeah. Somebody said, I remember once they had a rock, paper, scissors championship. I bet that was electric. Oh, remember the darts? Have you ever watched a live darts competition?
Yeah.
Where they're set up in some, concert hall in London, and everybody's got these gigantic beers, and the crowd is as electric as any football crowd you've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah. Bowling back in the day.
140. Love that. Gets nuts when you hear that.
Yeah. Those were the good old days when ESPN doesn't try to rule the world. They were just showing sports on TV.
Yeah, man. Debbie says when Texas Hold'em was big, not only did we watch it, but we had the case with the real chips and the table, played it with our neighbors. Us, too. I had that case somewhere in my house. I wish I still had
Everybody
it.
has that case, yeah.
The authentic WSOP chips with the official playing cards. Those were the days, man. We used to play poker in my buddy Patrick's attic, and we would trade Pokemon cards. That would be the stakes. And we would value the Pokemon cards that we had, or that some of us would steal from siblings. And we would assign a chip value to the card, and that's how we assigned value. And that's how we played poker. We bet on Pokemon cards. Because we were all convinced that we were going to sell them for millions of dollars one day, and now none of us know where they are.
No.
They're all gone.
And you never will. You could be like that famous married couple, that the picture of them dividing up their Beanie Babies in court. I mean, you could have been like that at least.
We'll get to something